Welcome to Two Baptists and That Amish Chick, a podcast brought to you by the Butterchurn Girls. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Bethany.
And I'm Berlin. Join us for candid conversations about organized religion, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how we broke free from it while holding on to our faith in God.
In these candid conversations, you can expect to laugh, to relate, occasionally cry, and definitely hear a few cuss words.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and follow at the Butterchurn Girls on all socials. Now for this week's episode. Hey, we're the Butterchurn Girls. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Bethany.
I'm Berlin.
And welcome to Two Baptists and That Amish Chick podcast. We are so excited that you're here. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Our first episode launches February 1st.
Yes. I'm so excited. By the way, those are the two Baptists, and I'm the Amish chick, in case you were wondering. I mean, I'm not Amish anymore, but we're
not Baptists anymore.
As you say that together.
We're still in sync, though. That's fine. No, I'm joking. But this podcast is all about how we have deconstructed from religion, organized religion, and held on to our faith in God.
Yeah.
And so we're going to tell our stories, the funny stories, the sad stories, and all the things in between.
Yeah. And you're going to laugh and you're going to cry and you're probably going to hear a few cuss words, because sometimes in order to adequately express the emotion of the moment, you've got to use,
different adjectives.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just language.
It is. It honestly is. And we, we're not going to be like over the top with it, but just so you know, in case you're, listening around kids, or I don't know, you don't like those words, now you know.
Or even wondering why a Christian podcast is labeled explicit.
That's why
it's in there.
Yeah, there's a few here and there. They're nothing crazy though.
So we wanted to share with you guys just kind of what to expect, a little bit of what we are going to talk about and what we're not going to talk about. We've already gotten so many questions, even just since our announcement of this podcast, of like, will you talk about this? Will you talk about that? Will you talk about this? Will you talk about that? So we wanted to make it like super clear on the types of things we would be talking about. So one big thing is like, guys, we are not theologians. Nope. We are not going to sit here and tell you what to believe. That is one of our biggest things, is that we don't believe in telling you what you need to believe. We all came out of religion.
We left that.
And
for a reason.
We left that. And so our thing is we want to like equip you, give you ideas, concepts, things to process, tools to look at things kind of for yourself, basically.
Yeah. And if you're in that space where you're just figuring out yourself, you're like, I don't believe in organized religion anymore, but I don't know what to do. This is also to help you navigate that. If you need, sometimes when you're leaving something, you're like, well, I don't even know what I believe anymore, and like, is what I was taught, is all of it true? I mean, even Leslie talks about that. But you say it better than I do.
About everything that I believed, I realized it was getting like, I was saying there was like hole shot in it. So if I can't stand on that, what am I standing on? I felt like I had nothing left to stand on. And so it was literally like, I had to grasp onto Jesus and God and these fragments of what was left and go, help me. Right. Like that's really kind of what I had to do. And so we want our stories to be encouraging. So you feel that you're not alone in this, because I know deconstructing can feel so lonely. And so we've walked this journey and we're walking it with a lot of other people. And now we have come to this other side, and we're still finding things in our mindset and in our, beliefs. Every once in a while, something comes up and we're like, oh, but wait, is that what I believe anymore? Like we continue to catch ourselves.
Because you just say things that you've heard your whole life.
Yes.
And then you're like, whoa, hold on a minute. And so you catch yourself, but it's really a great place to begin to ask questions, to dig into it, to be like, do I believe that? What do I believe? What is the actual truth behind this? What is the truth and the understanding I have? Because I believe we can all see things. I've described it this way before, where if everyone's standing on different sides of a Rubik's Cube, we all have a different perspective and we're all going to see different colors. And that's how we can look at God. So we're going to do that. So you may hear something where you're like, Berlin, that sounds a little bit crazy. I've never seen that side. Well, you've seen a side of God that I haven't seen. And so we all have these pieces that we carry, which is why we're doing this podcast together, which is why we asked you guys to like send in questions you have, topics you want us to talk about, hear feedback, all of those things, because there are so many different aspects of God, of faith, of even if you want to call it spirituality or whatever, if you want to use different language for it, like it's all kind of coming together as the same thing. We all have different aspects of that we see.
Yeah. And, if like, just you talking about that made me think of something. Like we won't, again, you can send in, topics you want us to talk about, and we'll tell you our story about how we came to where we're at, how we like maybe deconstructed, or we figured out what we believe in that area. But we're not going to tell you that like this is what God says about it. Like you have to believe this way, or it's not, like we have the final say, we have the truth, the final truth on this, because we are always evolving and growing as humans and as people who are in a relationship with God. And a relationship isn't a stagnant, like I've come to a conclusion on all things and now we know exactly what's happening. No, as you change and grow, a relationship changes and grows. Like think about relationships in your life. They don't stay the same. It's because you don't stay the same as a person, and God stays the same. But
he's so big.
I know.
He's so big. We can't possibly see every piece of him.
Yeah.
So we don't, I think all of us together don't know. If you took everyone in history forever, going backwards, going forwards, and took all of our stuff and we would put it into one computer, like it still wouldn't even know a fraction of God.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And that's actually one of the things I've always said is like, we could search for every moment of forever and never reach the end of him, because there is just so much more. And so we are really excited to hit some hot button topics. So
the Butterchurn Girls may stir the pot a little bit.
Stirring the pot a little bit.
Butterchurn Girls is Amish for pot stirrers.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But really.
Is it wrong? But we're excited to talk about things like purity culture. We're excited to talk about just deconstruction in general, right? Because so many people are deconstructing, but what's happening is they're abandoning ship.
Yeah.
And they're throwing everything away. And honestly, I think we were all kind of there at one point or another going, do I just abandon this completely? And so we want to share these stories because you're not alone in this. It's relatable. And hey, here's some other things. And here's actually some really good questions to ask, because these are things that we've asked. These are things that here's tools that we've used. Here's different, ideas and views. And, we want to dignify you with the use of your free will.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I'm realizing like, we've been posting and getting some controversial posts going out and getting lectured back, we're realizing like people are just going, hey, you're wrong. Are we, or do you not see the way I'm looking at things? Right. Yes. We want to dignify you with that choice. And sometimes the salvation wasn't even dignified with that choice. Right. It was fear-based. It was forced. And so it was to boost numbers in some churches, right? Like it happens. And so we want to dignify you with that choice and with the tools and with the questions so you can make that decision yourself.
Yeah, for real. That's the one thing that religion will do, is it will try to take away your choice or your belief that you have a choice. And so that's the thing that, we were created with a God-given ability to choose, like free will. And we say that, but how much do we believe it? Right. Like
live it out.
Yeah. Live it out. Like the extent that you believe that you live something out is the extent that you believe it. If you don't live it out, you don't actually believe it, or there's something stopping you from fully apprehending that truth or that reality. And that's one thing that I think we've all apprehended, is the truth that I do have a free will. I do get to choose. And it's not, and God isn't just one way of looking at things. He's actually
black and
he's
white.
Many facets to him, like you said. Like there's so many pieces to him, and he's like a diamond. There's all these sides, and every time you look at a different side, it reflects light differently, and it speaks to the mystery of who he is. And like he's not threatened by anything that happens in our world, or threatened by the questions or the thoughts we have. Like he's not up there like, oh no, well, they're asking that question, what do I do? Like, I don't know. I don't have the answer. Like he is the answer. He's got it. Yeah. But how many times do we treat him that way?
100%. Yeah.
Like, this is too big for God. Like we don't say it, but it's in the way that we hold our theology, or the way, like that post I shared with you guys from, there's this guy on Instagram. His name is Rich. His last name starts with a V. I forget how to say it, but he was like, it's not that he finds that people don't hate the theology that church has. It's the way that those leaders hold that theology that messes people up. And I was like, that's so good.
That's so good. Even as you're saying that, I'm like, oh, what did you just say? Oh, that we have free will. I just had the realization as you were saying that I think many of us have also had this concept that there is free will and you're either choosing God or everything else is bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not you're choosing the free will of these different, like God's like, hey, you can come and find me this way or this way or this. Like God's like, I'll be at the river. I'll be in the church. I'll be in your bedroom. I'll be in the shower. Like
I'll be in the club.
I'm everywhere. Yeah, I'll be in the club.
Like for real. Like
literally.
Jesus has encountered people in crazy places like clubs and places that most church people are like, oh, God would never go there. Well, there's a lot of his kids in that place and they all carry a piece of God. So but essentially he's in there.
We have a mutual friend that met God high on drugs, listen to Kanye.
Yeah.
Before Kanye did church music.
Yeah.
Like before Kanye,
before gospel Kanye.
Yeah, before that Kanye. Like, and that's how he's like, that's where I met Jesus. I didn't know anything about Jesus. And I'm like, God will meet you anywhere.
So
But
isn't that a testament to Jesus' character when he walked the earth? Didn't he hang out in those places anyway? He hung out with the tax collectors. He hung out with the prostitutes. He hung out in these places.
He wasn't in church.
Weren't churchy, right? And when he went into the church, he was flipping tables.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're doing. But
yeah.
You know,
we're
like
just being like Jesus.
No.
Oh my gosh. But for real.
No, we throw Leslie out of what she was saying.
I have no idea. But no, it really is gone. But really, like, there's a level of truth to absolutely everything we encounter.
Yeah.
Right. And so encountering God in nature and also in the cities, in the architecture, like we can find God in all of these different places. He's not just in nature or just coming from the pulpit or just in the Bible. Right. Like he's a real person to have a conversation with, and he's just as real in every setting, right? He's real right here at this table, and he's real out there in the grass, and he's real while we're like going down the elevator. Like it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like God is real no matter what. And like we're talking about the multifacets of God, that doesn't make him inconsistent. Right.
Yeah.
So like the diamond is still consistent. So God is still consistent, but he has a lot of different facets.
Yeah.
And so I think we're so quick to jump, and like myself included, I've done this. Like I've jumped and been like, that's not God. But is it not? Yeah. Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
Because just because it has a different name that doesn't have a title that you've called it,
right,
doesn't mean God isn't
true
in it, and it isn't a facet of God and a piece of God. So I think that's the thing. Like we want to. Like we'll probably dive into that stuff at some point.
Yeah. But
that's what we want to highlight to, like, if you're a person that you're like, I've kind of ran from God, like I still have this little bit in me that's like I know he's there, but I'm kind of scared of him because of what I've experienced. So I'm off in spirituality or new age or whatever you've decided to look into, whatever, another faith, Buddhism, whatever, right? Whatever it's in, you are carrying facets of God in you and around you, and you have concepts that are God. And like, we are here to be the people that are like, we don't care what language you use, right? Like you have tapped into something that is magnificent and magical. And like, we want to be that place where you can feel free to leave a comment, to say things, and for us to not be like, we're not going to be like, that's not God. We're going to be like, that's, you're searching and you're finding facets of him that many of us haven't actually found. And so we want to be this place for you where you can freely express those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And discover him on your own pace and time. Like I think sometimes we rush, like, oh, I have deconstruct, like we have to get through it and we have to figure it out. But there's something in the journey that's so cool if we take our time and we allow things to, search things out, right? I mean, not just like sit on our butt and do nothing, but like there's value in a process, because in the process is where you learn so many things. And honestly, we're all in a process all the time.
And not even just learn things about God, right? Yeah. About yourself too.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly one of our biggest testaments, right? Is like we knew more about God than we knew about ourselves.
That's so true.
Yes.
And I'm actually just now realizing that now that the words are leaving my mouth, I'm like, no, that's actually, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it was like running on autopilot on who everybody else told me I
Because-
was or should be or whatever, you know.
So because for me, I don't know if it was like this for you guys, but for me, I was like we said, I am nothing. It's all God.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same
So
thing.
if you're I'm nothing,
There's-
what
yeah.
worth do I have in anything? How can I even be used?
So we
How
shut
can
it
I?
all down.
Oh,
Yeah, and then you devalue the human side of Jesus because he was fully human and fully God. So if you're saying humanity is, I mean, we're opening a can of worms here. So I
I know, like we've
Yeah.
created like 18 topics now
Yeah.
to dive into deeper just from this
Yeah.
intro of what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But like if you say, just to your point, if you say that humanity is not good and is like innately sinful or whatever, then you're saying that the nature, we're made in God's image and we have his nature and his image. So you're basically saying that he's not good.
Oh,
Right? Like you can't separate us from God. Like we're his kids and he breathed his breath into us and he made us in his image. We're not made in the image of the devil. We're made in the image of God. And the devil was made in the image of God too. He just chose a different thing. Like he chose, right? Because he had free will. Everybody has free will. And so it's really good for us to take a step back and be like, if I keep saying, you know, I say that humanity, I was raised that, you know, humans are just, you're just a sinful, you know, beggar or whatever. You barely got
dirty,
saved.
rotten, evil
Yeah.
sinner.
Yeah, like-
Saved by grace is who I am.
Like, no, you're not. Like you're saying something about your father when you say that. You can't not say that. Like, what are you saying? And so it and a lot of that is just agendas that were brought in for, again, controlling people, getting people into the, you know, the place you want them to be. And so if you can, you know, fear, if you can manipulate and
If
get
you have
people
them
to
scared,
fear,
they're easier to control.
That's
yeah.
true.
And so I think that is why fear has been such a big message within the church for so long.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to break that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like help you guys like break free from that because it has been a game changer.
Mhm.
I think all of us would agree. It's
Yeah.
been a very big game changer to ditch the fear and to move forward in freedom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So basically that's about 18 episodes run like summary of what we're going to talk
We'll
about.
get there. We'll get there.
But yeah, we basically want to dive into this place where you are, no matter where you're coming from in your faith, you are welcome here. We want to bring you in like for the conversation, leave comments, ask questions, no matter what platform you're listening on. If you're seeing a snippet of this, what on a social media platform, whatever it is, we want to hear questions. We want to hear topics. Again, we're not theologians. So if you like define this verse and tell me what it means, that's not our thing here to do.
No.
We're more just having the conversation. We're going to tell a lot of our stories. We're going to tell a lot of what we saw happen in religious culture that, and how we felt like it was really done wrong and a disservice to God and to the people, and kind of what we feel like a solution is, because we don't ever want to just complain about a problem. We always want to bring a solution to it as well.
For sure.
And like, what's the good pieces of it that should be kept, what should be thrown away, and what can be done better, because hopefully this will be something that, I really believe this will be something that will change how people of faith work and how people move in their faith in society.
Yeah, I think I believe it'll give it'll give you permission.
Yeah.
Permission and grace and freedom to do the things that you've been feeling like you need to pursue, but religion, what you've been taught, has been holding you back. Those thoughts in your head, like, oh, but I shouldn't do that because I was taught this. You know, okay, well, let's look at that. And so there's a lot of permission and freedom here on this podcast for you to grab a hold of, and to never feel any shame about it, but to actually fully engage and like look forward to your process of discovering God and who he is in your world and what that looks like, and what pieces of him you carry, because you're a piece of him on this earth. So that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you on the next episode.
And make sure you subscribe as well.
Yes, for sure. Bye, guys.
Bye.